God save the Queen, man. Sorry, that's low
Or
hanging,
not.
low hanging fruit. Sorry. If you're looking for a podcast that is irreverent and all that good stuff, you found one of them. It's all good. We are the Two Noobs Talking. Matt's been holding out on us. Apparently, John found the soundboard for the podcasting. So, speaking of John, he's over there, and over.
Nope.
You know,
I think that's a soundboard.
I think when the Flash went back to save his mother, he disrupted our timeline, and Matt never joined the podcast. So, Two Noobs W.
With by the way, up there with the Earth.
Yeah.
Yep. Right up there. Yep.
No, we're just kidding. We're just kidding. Matt's on a well-deserved vacation touring Cooperstown with his father, so that's a nice Father's Day activity for him.
Enjoy, gentlemen. Please enjoy.
So, John, how are you doing this Father's Day Eve?
This last week, remember when I said it was hot last week?
Yes.
I was wrong. Completely 100% wrong. I didn't know what 109 real feel felt like until yesterday. Oh,
that was the real feel. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it was 104, but the real feel was 109, and I had my coworker that I've been with this week. He looked at me and he was like, "Dude, go sit down. Like, you do not look well." And I was like, "I feel fine." No, he's like, "No, go sit down. Like, you do not look okay." My face was as red as this hat.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was hot. It was hot.
It's funny the difference a couple degrees makes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's 72 in wintertime feels cold. You know, we're actually 70, so we keep the thermostat usually 70.
Yeah.
70 in the wintertime is cold. 72 in the summer with the air conditioning on is too hot to sleep. So
isn't it funny? Yeah, isn't it funny?
Very, very strange. Well, it is episode 140. That's not here. 142. Well, why don't we do this first? We're going to talk to our sponsor, W.GG. Visit the website, W.GG, D-U-B-B-Y. Pick your favorite flavor. Put in the promo code 2NoobsTalking. That's T-O-O still, Noobs Talking. Get 10% off your order. They are bringing you our fun fact and over 40 rant before I tell you what the rest of the podcast is going to be like. I'll do our over 40 rant first since Matt's not here and I had an interesting experience to share, which is going to rake some healthcare people over the coals, if you will.
Nice. Go get them, Steve. I'll be sitting here.
Plan. Oh, absolutely. All right, you sit there in the heat. Unfortunate news. Our cat had to go to the hospital. One of our cats had to go to the hospital this week. He has urinary problems. He's sadly scheduled to have surgery on Monday. But the good news is he should make a full recovery. It's going to permanently alter him a little bit, which is a little weird. But I looked it up and I spoke with the doctors, and they say everything's, he's not. It's not going to change his, lifespan outlook, and his quality of life won't be any hindered. So,
and that's
we decided to go ahead and
that's
absolutely. But what got me thinking about this rant this week is, before he was admitted to the hospital as an emergency, we were given an estimate for how much it would cost. I don't remember ever getting that visiting a doctor or a hospital for human people. Matter of fact, I actually get that from my dentist now. When I had to have a cavity filled, they before my appointment, they called the insurance company, figured it all out. They called me and said, "All right, your responsibility for the dental care is anticipated to be, I don't know, it was $100, whatever it was." So, okay. And so the vet said, yeah, this is what we're anticipating based on the exam we just did of him. This is what this estimate's going to cost. Obviously, it's costing more now because he's got to go to surgery. But before they performed the surgery, they gave me another estimate. Why can't the healthcare industry in America figure that out, people? Might solve a lot of problems.
I can speak on real quick. I can just speak on my wife had major surgery a couple years ago, and it was really funny. We had paid up to our deductible, and we paid everything that needed to be paid. And the day before the surgery, you have to go and you have to do all these blah 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 blah. All of a sudden, and this is what makes my wife an amazing human being, they're like, so are you going to pay the $3,200 that is due now, or are you going to do it after? And she's like, 30, like, we already paid up to our deductible. What are you talking about? And the guy goes, well, there's more charges and there's more hospital stays. And he's like reading a laundry list. And she was like, we're not paying anything today. Like, you can bill us after the surgery. We've already met all your requirements. Like, you just can't throw that out there. Like, you can't throw another $3,200 like on the table. You want to have the surgery or pay? Or we'll take it away from you. That's kind of the way he was acting. And she was like, "We're not paying anything. Like, you can send us a bill after recovery and all that, because you have to pay when you have surgery." But yeah, I don't think the healthcare system has a really good billing department. Matt, you need to get on that. Like, fix that. You fix a bunch of companies.
When I dislocated my shoulder, went to the hospital. I then got a bill from the hospital, and then I got a bill from the doctors at the hospital, which is, needless to say, a little weird. Similar thing. My wife had minor hand surgery last year. Got a bill. We got a collection bill from the anesthesiologist who had our address wrong, so we never received their bill.
Yikes.
It's bad. The system is broken.
Yes.
And the whole when you look at like the insurance statements, it's like, well, we charged for this, but because of the insurance company, we're only going to bill for this, and so they're going to subtract this, and you're going to pay this. Why?
On the bill for my wife's surgery had a fee because they bring dogs in to cheer people up.
That's interesting.
So why would there be a fee? You're bringing dogs in to cheer people up. I totally get what you're doing.
We're going to bring a dog in to cheer you up because your bill is going to make you frown.
Exactly. So we'll just slap a fee on it.
Well, we're going to have our friend Dr. Alex Page back on the program to do some splaining. I mean, I'm an attorney. My hourly rates are posted to our clients, and we give estimates if requested beforehand before we start work.
I would hope so.
I don't see why the medical community can't be any different.
I don't think Alex is a douche, so he probably doesn't have to explain it to us.
Yeah. But he would at least know, his colleagues in crime, as it were.
Yes.
He might know why they're so shady. But anyway, that's my over 40 for the week. So now for the more fun stuff, because this is going to be a light-hearted episode, if you will. Now that I've been Captain Bring Down. So John.
Oh, there you go. I'm Matt now. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me change. I need Legos. Hold on.
All right, John. Fun fact for the week. What do you got for us?
So we're gonna talk Phillies. I'm gonna little spoiler. We're gonna talk Phillies in topic 1. Because it's going to be very lighthearted. I came across this today, and I was like, this is going to be perfect. So I'm going to tell you this, and then we're going to get into the Phillies. Alec Boehm, one of my favorite Phillies, part of the kindergarten club, and one of the brighter spots of the Phillies in the last year, is hitting .353 with 33 RBIs in 68 at-bats this year with runners in scoring position. How can you hate that? So he's the only one. Yes, how can you hate that?
No, you can't at all. That's impressive.
Like, damn. When I saw that, I was like, did they get their stats wrong? Because if you listen to the media, nobody knows nothing about, or nobody is playing well, and nobody's doing anything. Blah 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 blah.
Well, that's a hell of a stat because the rest of the team is batting like .058 with runners in scoring position.
Absolutely.
So he's single-handedly
with
bringing
only,
up the rest of it
with only pop-ups and strikeouts, like, because they're not even putting the ball into play. Like, they're not even letting the other team get them out.
Exactly.
That's the fun
That's an
part
interesting
about
stat. So that is pretty fun, actually. So as John alluded to, we're going to get topic one. We'll be talking Phillies. This episode is going to be basically a state of the union of Philly sports, which is ironic because we're not actually going to talk about the union at all.
Yes.
We're only going to hit the...
And we're going to be coherent. So the state of the union, because you probably throw that out too.
Right. No, God save the queen, man. So we're, as I said, topic one, we're starting with the Phillies. Currently, what are they sitting at? 2 games over 500 as of recording. Yes. They're playing right now, so that could change by the time we're done. But
which I'm sad because I wanted to watch them, but we got business to do.
Sorry, life got in the way. And by life, I mean this podcast, because this podcast is life. Hit like, share, subscribe if you want to join. So they are. Matt's been holding out on us, man. We could have been doing this for months.
I know.
Months.
I know.
2 games over 500. They've been on it. What's their current winning streak up to? 5, 6, something around that.
I believe it's 5, but
it's actually 4, right? Because they won 3 against Arizona.
They did lose.
They lost the first one in Arizona and then won the last 3, and then won last night against Oakland, and they're playing.
They are
Oakland
36 and 34, and they are losing right now 1-0, which of course they would do after they win a game.
Right, exactly. And that's sort of been the tale of this team this year. Very wildly inconsistent 6-game winning streaks, 7-game losing streaks. The minute they get to 500 or a game over, that's when they tank it a little bit. Lots been made. Trey Turner had a rough go the first couple months. He was the big free agent signing. Taijuan Walker was the other big, in quotes, free agent signing. Although he recently has turned in, I think, 3 pretty good starts the last few games out.
Looks really good,
So coming off a World Series loss, this is not exactly what you wanted to see from the team.
No.
But, we still got 100 so games to go in the regular season, so not totally down and out yet. But what are your initial kind of thoughts on how the season's gone so far?
3 quick thoughts. Wheeler is exactly where he needs to be. Walker is where we want him to be right now. Nola needs to be the ace. Nola has pitched really, really inconsistent this year. And I'm hoping, Louisiana kid, when the summer sun hits, that's when he fires like the bats do. He's very much is that guy. If he gets on pace and Ranger is half of what Ranger was last year, we're cooking. We're fine. We will contend. I have no issues with that. I really blame Nola's inconsistency for those up and down wins. And Taijuan Walker in the beginning of the year was not who we were sold or who he was as a Met. He was actually a good starter. It almost scares me that the logo creates these guys that are good, and then they come to the team and they just do what the rest of the team does. Bryce Harper excluded. Because the Phillies are a predominantly slow starting team over the last 10 years.
That's very true.
So why would we be surprised that they slow start this time? But everybody we bring in, Taijuan Walker, good starter for the Mets, right? Good early season, really good. Trips out of the block. Understand he's moving to a different. We're not idiots. Like, he's moving to a different city. There's a lot of things. gave Castellanos a break last year because you're moving and you're not going to play as well. He's doing really well.
Yeah,
but that's
no, he. Who was it? Who was it during the World Series who said, like, book it? He's going to be much better next season. I think it was John Smoltz.
I think so. Yeah, and
he was right.
For what he didn't do with his bat last year, he definitely made up in his glove in a position he wasn't supposed to be in. That's the thing that I think people don't think about. Like, he was the starting left fielder in quotations last year. He was going to be the guy, get spelled by Schwarber 4 times a year because Schwarber can't play the outfield. Schwarber can't jump 4 feet, so or 2 inches. He's just not that guy. He was supposed to be good over there. He was supposed to replace McCutchen. He was supposed to be a bat in the lineup behind Bryce. And Bryce gets hurt, and all of a sudden he's the everyday right fielder and does well. He
played well defensively.
Did really
Absolutely.
well defensively. And I hold that more so than the bats because we have a ton of bats on this team. It's not one person's fault when you don't. It's not the early 90s team where you only had one guy that could hit. You have a bunch of guys that can hit.
Right. I want to go back to Nola for a second.
Yeah, please.
Because I agree he's inconsistent, but I think he's inconsistent within games.
Yes.
Like, it seems to me he pitches lights out for like 4 innings. But there's another inning, and it could be the first inning, it could be the 5th inning, it could be the 3rd, sprinkled somewhere in between. He has 1 inning every start, it seems like, where he just completely implodes. And he'll walk a guy, give up a double, and then a home run. And it baffles me how he could go the rest of that same game and strike out 10 dudes.
And then he pops, then he gets right back on his horse. What I've noticed with Nola this year is I don't think it's as much as Nola's fault. Is what you'll get a bonehead play. You'll get a walk, you'll get a bonehead play, and then he gives up a home run ball. Like, I don't think it's totally Nola's fault. I think it's the fact that we don't have we don't have what we thought we were going to have, which is Hoskins, Stott, Turner, Bohm. We knew we weren't going to have Bryce, but we'd have Castellanos. We'd have a center fielder because we didn't know who that was going to be because Guthrie came on in spring training and we didn't even know like what they were going to do in center field, which seems to work itself out. Marshall's a hell of a player. And then you got fucking Limpy over there in left field. But, I mean, left field is 4.
Yeah.
I love Schwarber, but he's not a left fielder.
I don't know. I mean, we've had Pete Incaviglia controlling left field and good old Bull before him. I don't think left field is necessarily a position where your most athletic guys play
you
at.
don't need your athletic guy, but...
Right.
What I'm saying is, if looking at the lineup that they had, there were interchangeable parts because what they were thinking when they built this team is Castellanos in left. Schwarber can DH all day long, but he can also play a little left if you need to. If you need to, day off kind of thing.
Right.
If you need to, But now it's become he's the everyday left fielder. There's some issues there because Nola could have got out some innings with a simple line drive that maybe the ball didn't get back in as fast as all of a sudden it's a double. Then the dude's running on a single. Now he scores. The defense is as much to blame as the pitching, but I think the pitching, now that it's coming around, Ranger was not here in the beginning, so we were just spot starting and barely what is it, Bailey Falter? Is that his name?
Bailey
I think
Falter,
that's his name. Yeah. He looked terrible at times. But he was also put in terrible positions. And then Rob Thomas made that terrible move where he was like, oh, well, he doesn't start well, so we're going to put this guy in, and then we're going to put him in. And that game blew up in their face. But when you don't have...
It's interesting you brought that up. because I saw a stat maybe a week ago. The Phillies, with their top 4 rotation starters, their record was impressively over 500. The record when they do like a Bailey Falter start or one of these bullpen games,
yes,
was woefully under 500. And by looking at the 2 records, you could legitimately make the argument that the 5th starter position, or lack thereof, for this team,
yes,
is really what has brought them down the first 2 months of the season.
I would agree. I would 100% agree with that. I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, just talking about the Phillies, and all I would say was it's pitching. It's pitching. It's pitching. It's pitching. They weren't putting 3-4 games together at all.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You need a lot of people said this to me when I was younger, and I firmly believe it now. When I'm watching baseball, it's series wins, but it's not just series wins. It's winning the getaway game in that series and putting that momentum to the second series. Like, if you're playing a shitty team before you're playing the Braves, you want to win that third game, and then you want to take the first 2 of the next game. What they're doing is they'll beat up on the shitty team 1-2, lose to them like 15-1, because that makes sense. And then they'll go into the next game and they'll have 3 hits, score 2 runs off of 3 hits, and then they get beat by good pitching. And that's the crazy part. That's the crazy part about this team. It's like, what? You didn't plan for that? Like, why did you put your bullpen game? Why didn't you put your bullpen game the first game when you knew your guys were going to be hot? Because you're coming off of that. I don't blame the manager. I don't blame the manager. I blame the team for not knowing their own personality. And that includes the manager. And that includes the bench coach. Not knowing your personality of your team, I think, is why they're in their situation. You know Bryce Harper's not coming back. You need to win now. He wasn't coming back for a long period of time. He can't save you. He's going to be on the bench for a really long time. Just because he's in the dugout does not mean he's going to help. And I think
he's playing now, though, so I'm a little lost on your analogy there.
I'm just saying, early on in the season, with those games, they could have, but they're a slow starting franchise. What my point is that they could have won early, and they'd be cruising right now, doing what they're doing now, getting everybody back, and we'd be talking about them being 10 games over 500. We'd be talking about them differently if they would have had a good April without Harper. And that was funny because they didn't. They were very lackluster.
I mean, I think a lot of people predicted, though, that knowing Harper was going to be out early, knowing you weren't going to have Hoskins for the year, there were a lot of people who thought the team would struggle early, and they did. And I don't think that's surprising at all.
No, I don't think it's surprising.
Given the bats that you lost, not at all.
But that was something that could have helped them now. So they can't look at us and say, well, no, you did exactly what we thought you were going to do. You need to be better. The one question I want to ask you as we're doing this Phillies things, do you feel, I understand he has an injury, but do you feel Bryce Harper at DH for the last year and a half has hurt this team or helped this team?
It's an interesting question because you don't really have a choice. I mean, he either DHs or he doesn't play at all, and you can't take that bat out of the lineup. I mean, not single-handedly, but he was a huge factor in getting to the World Series last year. So I don't think you can say it hurts the team. I understand the argument. Yes, you got to play guys out of position because he can't play the field. And so to your point, Schwarber's got to play left and Castellanos has to move over to right field, but Castellanos is fine. I mean, really the only impact it has is that you have to play Schwarber in left field instead of DHing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't take Schwarber's bat out of the lineup either because he hit 40 whatever home runs last year.
That's why I find it an interesting question, because the production in the bats is key, but you're losing a little bit. But we also grew up in the time, the 93 Phillies, we had Uncle Milty and Pete Incaviglia in left field back and forth.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, for the newer fans, we're used to slow white guy. Then
Pat Burrell.
Yes, and then Milt Thompson, very athletic, but he was supposed to be a second baseman. He was not supposed to be a left fielder at that time, and they threw him out there to be the defensive replacement.
So I don't think you could say it hurt. Has it probably cost them a game or two along the way somewhere because of defensive issues? Maybe. But I wouldn't say it's hurt the team. And again, you don't really have a choice because you can't take him out of the lineup. You can't take Schwarber's bat out of the lineup. They've got to be in there.
That's why I asked the question, because I've heard it on sports radio, and I thought it was ridiculous. I agree with you. I don't think it matters at all. Would I like to see Bryce Harper get to first base quicker this year? So I don't have to. Yes, but I've never had Tommy John, so I'm not gonna sit here and tell him he needs to hurry up and play, because he has not been cleared by doctors, to be clear. He has not been cleared at all by the doctors to do anything other than hit a baseball and run. That's why he has that big mechanical thing on. He's not even close to being where he needs to be.
Which is funny because of the pitch clock. He doesn't really have time to get it completely strapped on. So I've seen him, like when the guy behind him early in the count hits the ball, he's running around and that thing is flopping off his arm because it's not fully strapped in.
Isn't that something MLB should be aware of?
You'd think.
I mean, I understand that it's pitch clock and you want to speed it up. Just to wrap up this segment, I understand that you want to speed everything up, but if a dude wants to protect his knee and his shin and his foot and his arm because he just had surgery, shouldn't you give 3 to 4 seconds? It seems like they've gone very Nazi with the pitch clock.
Yes,
and
I would agree.
I was all for it. Steve, you beat me into submission on the pitch clock. I was not all for it, but then I was after Steve made some really good points. He's a lawyer. He's going to win anyway, most times in those arguments. But I'm all for the pitch clock, but I'm finding the pitch clock to be, for a lack of a better term, Nazi. Like, they don't even equate for anything.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. Like,
Absolutely.
You can't. Like, an extra timeout is a ball. That's a ball. The pitcher throws over to first base 3 times. That's a ball.
Yeah.
Like, so we can't play baseball anymore because we got to adhere to this clock. I don't understand.
I agree with you. I love the pitch clock because I love the fact that we don't have to watch 2 guys standing around for 3 minutes before a pitch is thrown.
Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I don't have to watch Bryce Harper step out of the box and do his best Nomar Garciaparra impression with the gloves and all that stuff.
2 gloves, his pants, his hat, and then his glove again.
Exactly.
And then...
I mean, I used to be superstitious too, but it gets a little bit ridiculous.
Yes.
So from that standpoint, I love it. But I agree with you. If a guy has a legitimate injury and needs to put on some, paraphernalia to protect himself, I would think you could give the guy a timeout, to have the time to put it on.
Yeah, just slow it down. Yeah.
It's not like it has to happen. It's not going to happen every batter. I mean, we all know he had surgery, so it's something he needs to wear. This is not like something somebody's going to take advantage of and milk every single time. I understand the concerns of when you think a guy is gaming the system. That's fine. But when you have a legitimate injury like this, give the guy a chance to put the thing on.
We're not asking
you want your stars in the game. You
We're
want your
not
stars in the
asking.
game because that's how you promote.
We're not asking for minutes. We're asking for seconds. Like to put a
Right.
price on it.
Give
It's
him
seconds.
20 seconds before you start the clock. Take a look down. Has he got it? Has he got it pretty much strapped on? Okay, now we can start the pitch clock. Let's go.
You
to the
can't
next
rely
batter.
on your first base umpire. That's what frustrates me. You have an umpire at every base. Like they can't have some say. That's why I'm using the harsh words, because it seems like it's a home plate umpire and home plate umpire only.
Mhm.
And it seems ridiculous. There's been so many mistakes that they've made this year already.
Let me ask you about the Aaron Nola incident, because I heard the radio call. Larry Anderson completely
Who's
blew
great,
up
by the way.
on this one. So the umpire, I guess it was the 5th or 6th inning of the start, thought that Nola was really gaming the clock by asking for a new ball more often than he thought was normal. What's your thought on that?
He's probably gaming the system, but if you want a pitcher to pitch, a la Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez, they would throw 3 balls out in one set. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, it's feel for them. That's what they're doing. They know better than the umpire. They really do. And sometimes you have to. That's why I was against the pitch clock, because there's a lot of things in baseball, but I like baseball speeded up. I'm okay with it now.
I like to get home at a reasonable hour.
Give them I would say 2 balls.
Well,
You
here's
throw
the
out 2
thing.
balls, walking away.
Here's the thing.
Deal with it.
I would have thought.
Deal with it.
Right, I would have thought that the fact that he kind of got the ball, inspected it, and pitched it early, you'd be like, okay, if he waits 15 seconds into the clock and decides, nah, I don't like this ball,
That's
a little
weird.
weird. Then I could see you making a federal case out of it. But if he's going to get the ball, rub it 2 seconds, no, I don't like it, and throw it. Yeah.
Can someone please tell me something that you can, anything that you do, whether you're a construction worker, lawyer, anything, last 3 to 4 seconds looking at something and go, oh, this is bullshit. You can't do that in this world. Like, especially something you do every day. That would be like me. That would be like pulling on site for me, doing what I do and go, nah, this doesn't feel right, I'm leaving. Like, how would that be? That wouldn't be okay. So you're absolutely right. If he can not do it as rapidly as he was doing, it would be okay. Like, because he was waiting late into the clock, and he was like, oh, well, I don't like this scuff, it's gone, I don't like this scuff. I can understand where the controversy comes from, but
Well, no, he got the ball, he was off, he wasn't even on the mound, he got the ball off the mound, turned around, rubbed it, decided before he even stepped back on the mound he didn't like it, and threw it out. And
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why an umpire would be pissed.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and also doesn't your team rub down the balls so they already know?
You'd think.
I think
I don't know how that.
I think they did a thing on the Philly. That's funny that happened. I think they did a thing last year where the guy put him in the humidifier and he did the whole rub down, and he knew how Wheeler liked it. He knew how Nola liked it. And he knew, like, oh, well, Nola likes it pulled out a little bit earlier. Wheeler likes it in a little bit later. Ranger likes it, like, rock hard. Like, he doesn't even like it touched by me. Like, here's Ranger's balls. Like, they're here.
They're going to float over you with the force.
Yeah, I remember them doing something like that. I think he was bleeding the system there.
Well, I don't know, but it certainly got LA fired up. That's for sure. One last question on this, because I've enjoyed Craig Kimbrell closing. It's been nice to have a steady hand back there.
Yes.
But I have to ask, do you have any idea what's up with the...
I never understood it.
He's done it for years, and I
Yes.
don't understand it.
It's
I don't
the
get it.
Atlanta thing. It's the Atlanta thing. I think you're just pissed because he brought it to the Phillies uniform and it was done in an Atlanta uniform, and we don't like Atlanta. So
It's
I
done in a
find
Boston uniform too.
Craig Kimbrell pisses me off, even though he's saving games, because he's been an enemy for so long. I love that. I love that his dad was at the game. It was awesome when he got that career save. I feel for the dude. Like I like him, but his pitching style just I can't. I walk away half the time. I know you're gonna get him out, bro. I can't watch that because I hated it for so long. I can't flip that switch.
Oh, who had the weirdest delivery or kind of quirk on the mound for you? Is that the weirdest, or do you have?
No, he was just infuriated because he was beating us all the time. That was the only way. It's not that it's weird. It was he was beating us constantly.
Right. There's a guy who used to pitch in Atlanta. He used to do this thing where he would like
the rocking
rock back and forth on the mound. That annoyed the hell out of me.
I hated San Francisco. I hated Tim Lincecum. I hated everything about his delivery. It just looked, and he was 5'2", so it looked.
It was just limbs everywhere with him.
It didn't make sense to me. I was like, we both learned how to pitch when we were young. That's not how we learned how to pitch. It always made me mad because it was like, you can't throw a baseball like that. It's just dumb. Hated that.
Just got to get into my preparation stance here for topic 2. Okay. All right, ready. I'm set.
There you go.
And topic 2, we are moving to the other almost successful team in the city, which would be the Georgia Eagles.
Yes.
That's what it feels like anyway after the last draft.
Go Bulldogs.
I guess I'll just come right out and ask you that question first. How you like them Bulldogs, John?
I have, since LaShawn McCoy was drafted by the Eagles, I haven't been smiley and happy and calling all my peoples since him. This draft was something. Jalen Carter is just. I mean, I know there's some off-season questions, but as a player, losing Hargrave and replacing him with the best defensive tackle in college football, it should just make you happy. And they didn't stop there. They got the other linebacker that was instrumental in, Howie's smart. Howie gets people that win. And that's I was happy. That draft made me bottom to top. Not many drafts. I'm not a big draft guy as I'm like, oh, we're gonna win the Super Bowl because we had a good draft. I'm normally very low key, like, okay, let's see how he's gonna work out. I like where they're going. And it might not be major impact this year, but a year or two down the line, we've got some things.
So they lost, as you mentioned, Javon Hargrave to the 49ers, who think they're going to be good.
Yes. For millions of dollars.
I'm not going to say they should have spent that to keep him. I will agree there. He was absolutely an impact player on defense, but I think you're right. I think with Jalen Carter coming in, hopefully Jordan Davis is more ready in year 2 to fill in there as well. So hopefully we'll have some good interior push.
I look at it very simply with the defensive tackle. You had 2 choices. You pay Hargrave that money, right? Mm-hmm. But then you got to let Fletch go. And why would you let one of your team leaders go? It's the same money per year. They're making about the same money per year. If you got to keep someone,
Fletch is a 1 year, I think. Right?
He's a 1 year, but
deal.
It would be the same money for that year.
Mm-hmm.
Why not keep your leader and bring in a young guy? That's I think that's what they were going for, and I agree with them.
How old was Hargrave? I feel like he had been around for a little while.
He
Um,
played for 2 teams before us. I'm gonna look him up real quick as you fill our time.
Oh, sorry. You meant like with actual talk and stuff. Yeah. Well, where I was going, the Hargrave walking didn't bother me as much as losing the safety.
Yes.
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Absolutely.
That one concerned me. And it did also, it seemed like it was a rather acrimonious split, at least from his side. At least that's how he perceived it. And
Yes.
I don't feel like we've really addressed the safety issue. Look, when did he come in last year? He was a training camp trade, wasn't he? So
Yes,
it's not like
with the
they
Saints.
can't do something later. Yeah. So there's still time before the season to fill it. But that to me seems like the big hole still on the defense.
It's the scariest part because not only did CJ leave, you also let Epps go, who looked great last year. Whether it's because he was playing with CJ or not, it doesn't matter. Like that's out the window. You literally let 2 of your major secondary players, although keeping your two outside guys, which I have no issue with. If I had to choose, I would pick my 2 outside guys to my 2 over the top guys. And we'll get into this a little bit later with Jonathan Gannon, why I say that, but I'll just put that out there right now. I'm better on the outside, getting rid of the safeties and keeping the outside guys because of a certain reason. Just get back to Hargrave real quick. He's 30 years old. Hargrave
that's what I thought.
Only played for Pittsburgh. So most of his career was he played 4 years with Pittsburgh, 3 years with Philly.
Okay.
And real
quick,
he
was 30.
Just real quick, last year was his absolute best year for sacks. Started in 16, 2, 17, 2, 18, 6.5, 19, 4, 2020, 4.5, 2021, 7.5, 2022, 11. So this was his best performance, and the last 2 years with the Eagles was his best tackle year he's ever had. So just a little breakdown stat of him. So maybe paying him that I'm feeling if I got to keep Fletch, I would let him go and replace him with a younger guy. I feel more confident after reading those stats.
Well, Fletcher is obviously older, but he's going to have to play less.
Yes.
If you have younger guys who can fill in a rotation.
I'm talking more locker room.
Fletcher.
I'm talking more locker room.
Absolutely.
Room. I would rather have Fletcher than Hargrave if we're talking room. Because if Carter and Davis are lining up 2 plays out of Fletcher's 1, and then the other 2 plays are the young kids, I'm more worried about the room Monday through Friday, having a dude that has done this leadership, right. And the Eagles are good at that. So
very true. The other weak position on the defense, though, would be linebacker.
Yes,
I think they lost Edwards, right?
They lost Edwards and the other guy. I can't remember. He's my son's favorite player, and I can't remember his name. Kazir White. They lost him too.
I have to question your son's sanity if that's his favorite player. But
he liked his tenacity.
I can understand that, but to be a favorite player on a team like this, a little bizarre. So I'm calling you out.
Like who you want.
So Nakobe Dean obviously was drafted to be the future leader of the linebacking core.
He's
how
the future.
How he traditionally undervalues the linebackers on his team. What do you think the plan is for this season for that group?
I'll tell you a quick story about Nakobe Dean. This was last year's draft with the Jordan Davis draft. I thought they were going to do the fun. I thought they were going to draft Georgia guy. After they drafted Jordan Davis, I was like, oh, shit, they're going to take all the team. Because that team was even better than the one that won this year. And I was saying to everybody that would listen to me, Nakobe Dean, second round pick. Nakobe Dean, second. Like, they have to get him in the second round. If he slips past the second round, we're not going to get him. We're not going to get him. Then they pick a center and then pick him up in the third round. Like, okay, so I don't know anything about the draft, so I'm wrong, because but he is what we want. And again, we'll get after Jonathan.
Linebacker.
After we get to the final part, Nakobe Dean is exactly who we want in the middle. For reasons I'm going to explain later. I
you mean,
like
you mean an over the hill Levon Kirkland is not what we want in the middle, right?
Yes, I enjoy that a young linebacker that understands how to run gaps and tackle people from behind and actually in front. Like, when they run through the hole, he actually, oh, you're here, I'm going to tackle you now because I'm the middle linebacker and you should be tackled when you run through the hole, not a good old TJ Edwards where it's like, oh, now I'm chasing you because I didn't see you come past the center. I missed. Jordan Davis was blocking my eyesight and I had to then run after you. Those things.
The eclipse that is Jordan Davis, right?
Apparently. That's what I always thought. His fat ass was confusing the middle linebacker because you couldn't see the guy.
All right, let's go to the offense. We know on the wide receiver front, we've got two stud at 1 and 2.
Yeah, we got a few.
So the question became the third wide receiver.
Yes.
And thus far, it looks like Quez is keeping that spot despite fan, shall we say, hatred.
There is no.
I mean, you dropped a pass in the Super Bowl. It's this town.
Yes.
You're gonna hear about it.
I understand 100%. I do not. I want to make a quick statement on that because you brought up Quez. I do not hate Quez Watkins in any which way. I want him to be great. I get really concerned when the head coach gets out in front of something, and the second day of OTAs, Sirianni is like, man, he looks great. He looks awesome. He's gonna be the best. That scares the shit out of me. Like,
why?
And they're media trained. All NFL coaches are media trained. So I know it's a real sore spot.
Well, we're talking about a coach though who bombed his first press conference.
Yes,
which people took as a sign of his competence as a coach, which is incredibly
which is not true. Yeah, which is not true.
So I don't know that he's media trained. I think he's figured out Philly
pretty quickly. He's a smart cookie. I like him a lot. I'm a big fan.
He's absolutely smart. I'm not concerned about him talking up Quez Watkins, but you know what's going to happen though, because you've got DeAndre Hopkins out. His name's out there.
Yep.
And his wasn't the only one. I think I've heard a couple of other names.
Oh, they've been trying to replace him from the at the end of the Super Bowl. They've been the media and the fans have been trying to. Anybody that gets released is going to be the third wide receiver. I hope Quez. He's fast as hell. He reminds me not of the catching ability, but the space he gets. He reminds me of Deshaun Jackson. He finds
lofty comparison, Mr. Tracy.
No, not catching ability. Not catching ability. I'm talking running ability only. When he gets open, he's got a guy or two. That guy is not running as fast as that man. And maybe that's the reason he doesn't catch well, because he's faster than his hands. And that's okay. I'm not comparing him to Deshaun Jackson at all. I'm just saying that separation ability, that his legs are on fire.
I'm not comparing him to Deshaun Jackson at all, but I'm going to compare him to Deshaun Jackson right here with his legs and his separation.
Only the legs.
The other name I was thinking of was Odell.
Yes.
Beckham Jr. was also
not
earlier.
Hands.
Right.
Not the hands.
But so he and DeAndre Hopkins were the two big wide receiver names that were out there. I'm with you. I hope Quez succeeds in it because he's a younger guy, so he's going to be. You got more life in front of you. you're going to not have to pay him a whole lot.
And I'd rather,
part of me kind of
I'd rather
wonders
have
how
them.
Odell or DeAndre Hopkins would handle being third banana at this point in their careers.
Well, the fact that you are with a man beast of AJ Brown that is going to get targeted, that's the quarterback's best friend, not including he's the best wide receiver on the team. Like, he also has a personal relationship with the quarterback. So who's getting the most balls? That makes Smith should even feel a little weird about that, because they, you know what I mean? Like, they drafted me and they brought his literal best friend in. Like, we know how that works in sports. Like, when you got your friends around, your friends are more important than said guy that might be okay.
Right.
It's the way it works out sometimes.
All right. So how about the running back spot? They let Miles Sanders walk, which I think was probably the right decision. He's got sour grapes from not getting enough touches in the Super Bowl, but
I was gonna speak on that. I agree.
It's not like his touches in the Super Bowl were all that magnificent. I thank the guy for what he did here, but I think you can replace that.
Yes. And
frankly.
you got roasted on Twitter because you should have never said those things. And Twitter did what Twitter does, and they put you in your place by he got gifts on that post. There were like less than 1 million, but way more than 800,000 of him fumbling and him getting tackled and like all his bad plays. Like, Twitter lit him up when he said that. And running backs are weird, and I understand why the Eagles don't value them. I've always, since Andy Reid and learning football through years and years and years, I've always kind of devalued the running back as it's not 1970. We're not going to pay them the money. It's a 4-year position, basically, from what statistics say. 4 to 5 years.
I mean, yeah.
You get beat up pretty bad because you're not on the outside. You're running through the big guy. You're running through the Jordan Davises that might catch you a couple times and land on top of you. So I was okay with them letting Sanders go. That wasn't a problem at all.
I disagree with you that Andy Reid taught us to devalue the position, because he had Brian Westbrook. Okay.
Yes.
That was a hell of a running back. And then he had LaShawn McCoy, who was the leading rusher in all history of the Eagles.
I agree with you. He didn't teach it. I'm just saying, around that time is when I started to understand. It was more the Howie Roseman time when he started to come around. And we started to devalue the running back and starting to sign those. But I thought it was more, Andy ran Deuce into the ground and then shipped him off to Pittsburgh.
Where he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go, kid. You only have to run half the time now.
Right. So they're heading in. It looks like it's going to be a committee. They got Rashad Penny from Seattle, who needs to stay healthy.
Yes.
DeAndre Swift, right, from Detroit.
Yes. Who I'm sold. I like him. I like him a lot. So I think he's the number one. You got Kenny Gainwell, and then the giant killer Boston Scott, who the Flyers have asked to play for them when they go up to the Meadowlands to play the Devils later next season. Giants are going to lose 2 games against the Eagles because Boston Scott's going to beat the starter. Yeah, exactly. We'll sit everybody else, and Boston Scott will just run all over you because apparently you can't catch a 5-foot guy. Who runs around.
And your rite of passage.
And he's not good against any other team. It makes no sense.
Some guys just have that team. Some guys just have that team. It's weird. Before we close out on Jonathan Gannon, Jalen Hurts. You think he's going to be better this year? Step back? Where do you see?
He has to be better this year. His own words. I don't think we can't handle him anymore with kid gloves. We could last year, and we all made that mistake too. We were.
I don't know that we were with kid gloves last year. I mean, I wanted him to succeed. I like his temperament.
I wanted him
his
to
leadership ability.
I wanted him to improve.
Absolutely, but he had He had a near MVP season. How much improvement?
But that's what I'm saying.
can we
Like,
expect?
The year before, I wasn't going to put the pressure on. I wanted to see him improve. Now that's out the window. This year,
sure.
you need to be better than you were last year. You proved to me and everybody else and the entire city and the entire world, you proved that you're on that level. Now you need to stay on that level and maybe be better.
Well, see, that's my question though. That level was incredible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how much better can he really get?
I need him to be more.
If he plays the same as he did last year,
yes,
I'm happy.
No, I am too. Just a little bit more consistency, and that will take him to that next level. And his throws were good. I'm not saying that there are not many negatives that this dude had. He had a few indecisions, but just the consistency of putting the games away, making those passes that he was making. If he does that 2% better, I'm not even saying he needs to make a large, just 2% better, just buckling in on all the things that he did well. If he just grows that little bit, he's going to be unstoppable. Because he's phenomenal. But he's not at that Peyton Manning, Tom Brady level where everything is buckled up. He needs still those 2-3 steps. And that's what
25?
No, but what I'm saying is he needs to make 2%. Because if we're gonna say he's gonna be one of the better quarterbacks that has ever played the game, he needs to every year he needs to just make it look a little bit cleaner. I
don't need him to be that. I don't need him to be that. He is not the reason this team lost the Super Bowl.
No,
okay?
no, not at all.
If he stayed at the level he was at, I would be thrilled. Okay, I'm just because we can't have nice things here in Philadelphia. I'm expecting, because it's the Negadelphian in me, that he's going to take a step back, and he's either going to get an injury or something's going to happen, and just because that's what happens around this town.
I know.
But if he stayed at where he is, I would be happy, because his performances. I understand he lost a fumble that went back for a touchdown, but I mean that happens to everybody.
Yeah, you're allowed that.
It's I don't hold him accountable. He went out and he made up for that mistake by getting the team the lead, and it was the defense that really kind of shit the bed in the Super Bowl for me. So if Jalen Hurts stayed flat for the next 3 years, sign me up. I'm happy.
And I agree with that. I'm just saying for me, I want to see him progress, because I want to see him get everything that he deserves. And I know how he gets that.
Absolutely.
Is just making those tiny. He's done the big jump already. The big jump was last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Now, bro. Now you're in the big leagues. Now I just want to see you. And now I want to see you get. I want to see you get to the greatness.
This is the reason for the concern, though. Carson Wentz did the same thing.
Yes.
Year 1, he was okay. Year 2. Runner-up MVP, just like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And after that, now he had injury problems.
Yes.
Jalen's got a shoulder injury, but it's his non-throwing. It was his non-throwing shoulder.
Yeah, non-throwing. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Are we sure?
No, I don't think he would. He's not the kind of guy that would hurt his throwing shoulder. That's not in his repertoire.
So in any event, Wentz had injuries and his play fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm convinced it was probably the injuries that did it. It's just
he's a mental midget. He's a mental midget, though.
Yeah, but to have a torn ACL and then a broken back and then a concussion, which I think is probably what ultimately undid him.
I think so.
That's that we saw that happen just a few years ago, which is what concerns me. Just because we can't have nice things in this town.
The only thing I would say
I can believe he can do it.
I understand.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say to that is I believe that Carson Wentz is a complete mental midget. I do not believe that he is that kind of guy that will beat adversity. over and over again. He's just not that person. But when I look at
Jalen Hurts
is totally the opposite version of Carson Wentz. Like he'll take adversity. Punch me in the mouth. I'll just you know what? I'll come back with a better jaw. I'll come back. You hit me hard. Guess what? I'm gonna run into you the next time. He just has that. He has that dog in him that I love. That's why I like him so much. I don't think Carson ever had that.
All right, thanks, Nick. So we'll close it out talking about Jonathan Gandush.
Yes.
Who cost us the Super Bowl and then running his mouth on the way out of town. I'll give you the floor because I know you want to wipe it up with him.
Well, we'll make it short. This is the reason that I was talking about is we can have Nakobe Dean at the starting middle linebacker. We can take a step back with our safeties. We don't need power at each position because we have a coach now that everybody nationally thinks, oh, well, they're going to be really good because this dude coaches them up. This guy, very reminiscent of what I heard from, I think it was on First Take, very reminiscent of early Ray Rhodes, the way this dude coached. He coaches his guys to tackle. He coaches guys to attack the ball. You might not need an all-pro at every position when you have a coach that can coach. I feel what we did with the Eagles was we needed an all-pro or we needed a player at every position because Jonathan Gannon was not a real good coach at all. I do not think he was a good defensive coach. I don't think he's going to make a good head coach. I don't think he's a good special teams coach. He probably isn't a good quality assurance coach. I don't know what pictures he has of somebody, but this dude is getting jobs and he doesn't remind me of a coach.
Andy Reid is the king of failure to adjust after halftime.
No, and not anymore.
Well, because Jonathan Gannon, failed to adjust to Andy Reid's failure to adjust.
Yes. Yes.
So, that's
Jonathan Gannon got beat by the worst second half head coach who had Patrick Mahomes, and the only reason that Andy Reid had success because it wasn't Andy Reid coaching that offense. That offense is player oriented. But I'm saying he outcoached Jonathan Gannon, and that's on Sirianni a little bit because he should have ripped the coaching away and just gone noodle to noodle with Andy in the second half. But sometimes you can't do that.
Coach, though. He's not a defensive coach.
That's what I'm saying. But I've heard back in the day of NFL, that's what head coaches would do. They would, I'm taking over because you're an idiot and you can't do this. If that would have happened and I heard that Sirianni took over and we got beat by Andy, I would have felt better than watching Andy literally obliterate this millennial that does not know football at the level. Andy was throwing shit on him that they were doing in the preseason. And it was like, oh, you're not watching film? Cool. We're just going to line up and do a swing pass, idiot. That's what it felt like. Again. That's what it felt like at the end of the Super Bowl was Andy was like, all right, son, I'm going to take you to school. and that's why I was glad he got the head coaching job because if you can't fire him, hope they get promoted.
Yeah, right. Well, we now know he is the Chat GPT of the NFL world because
he totally
the lies he made up about the media. I know the media here sucks, but I mean, telling the stories he did, that was just over the top. So good luck for the 12 games you'll be coaching Arizona this year, Jonathan Gannon.
Or 6.
Well, I mean, I know today's all about sports, but I just want to throw one more political one out there. We've never been accused of violating the Hatch Act. So that's good. Not that it really matters because apparently when you do it, you just get reprimanded anyway. It doesn't they don't do anything serious about it. But we move on to topic 3 as John contemplates tries to remember what the Hatch Act is all about.
Yes.
I've thrown him off and confused him.
Yes,
that's good because we're going to the most confusing team of the 4 majors in this city with topic 3. I'm talking about your Philadelphia 76ers. And while the Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl run, The Phillies are trying to recover and get back to the World Series, and the Flyers, as we'll talk about in topic 4, look like they're trending in the right direction with what they're doing. We have no flipping clue what the Sixers are up to or how to fix it. So let's move on to topic 4, Flyers. No.
Yes, I have ideas, but I mean, some of them.
Well, so there's a lot of congratulations to the Nuggets, by the way, because I love chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are delicious.
Yeah, chicken nuggets are awesome.
They are awesome, and if you we've discovered if you buy chicken nuggets and then put little pieces of cheese on them, put them in the oven,
it's
like little mini chicken parms. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I'm ordering Chick-fil-A very soon, so I'm gonna.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's a lot of trade rumors flying around. A lot of people think they can fix the Sixers because there's big names supposedly coming available. Whether how true it is or not is yet to be seen. Before we get to the offseason. Names being thrown around. So far, I've heard Damian Lillard. I've heard Chris Paul out of Phoenix. Bradley Beal out of Washington. And most recently, Zach LaVine out of Chicago. John, do any of those names do anything for you? Do you like what you'd have to give up? And is that going to get us over the hump here in Philly?
Yes and no. I'm throwing Chris Paul out immediately. Never won a championship, never will. The dude is a third player. He's a third player on every team he's ever been on. And you already have Maxey, so what is he going to do? What is he going to do? Run the ball up the court and hand it to Maxey? Then I could get somewhat less money to do that.
And less old.
Yes, I don't need you. I'm not a big Chris Paul fan at all, so that probably has something to do with it too.
No bias here on this program.
Yes. LaVine and Lillard. I'm okay with either of them if I can't have James Harden. But I want James Harden. I'll be very strong with that. I want James Harden to come back. LaVine, I like his game. He's probably a little quicker off the step than Harden is. I'm trying to be nice to Harden. He's probably a little quicker off the step. He's probably a better shooter. He's probably a better passer than Harden. He's definitely younger. But I think you would have to give up some of your younger talent, which I don't want to do because we don't. The process pretty much. We have what we have. We can't give up picks or anything. We can't do that because we have to build our franchise. Like we've led this franchise to a point where we could win, but we have to win sensibly, and that's Harden being.
Well, let me stop you right there. Because we have to give up some of the young talent on the team, and by young talent, you have to be referring to Tyrese Maxey because he's the only young talent I feel like is on this team, which is sad given the process where we were supposed to come from.
That's the problem with the process. There really is nobody else young and upcoming, but you can't give up draft choices is what I kind of meant by that. Is you need to build a bench with some first round picks, and getting a dude like LaVine or Lillard, you're gonna have to give up more than just players because we don't have those type of players. Like we could sign and trade Harden, or we could sign and trade Tobias Harris, but you're gonna have to give up picks for that because nobody's just gonna take those guys on a we'll just trade you the contract. We'll give you a better player. Is
Chicago going to take Harden back for LaVine? Is Washington going to take Harden back for Beal?
They're all saying it's a 3-team trade with Houston that has young talent. Look what young talent gets you, because you can make a 3-team trade with young talent, which we have none of. We only have Harden. That's why I say resign Harden and hope to God you get an extra player in the draft, and then make a run at it again with a coach that might not be Doc Rivers. That's
the one positive, right? Is we're not running it back. We have a new coach.
Yes.
You said you were high on Nick Nurse a few weeks ago when we talked about the end of the Sixers season. I liked what he had to say in the press conference.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I think he's got good plans for Maxey. He's shown in the past he had Marc Gasol in Toronto, so he knows how to handle a big.
Yep.
My concern is beyond Embiid and Maxey, what are we looking at?
Here's what I like.
Harden, if he comes back, you're not going to get 2018 James Harden walking through that door.
No way. But you're getting a facilitator that can help, and a good defender. Harden is a good defender. I'm not calling him a great defender. He's a good defender.
You may be the first person I'd ever hear say that.
He's a good defender. He's not the on-the-ball defender. He's awful. But the dude knows how to get in the way. He knows how to move. He knows how to move people. He knows how to coach on the court. That was the funny thing when I heard Doc Rivers say he was hard to coach. I was like, he was probably the only dude coaching. Like, you weren't coaching, bro. Like, he was the one like, hey, you need to go over there. I need to go over here. Joe, you need to go over there. Like, I think Harden has a good basketball mind, and he's really good at doing the little things. He's not the shooter he was. Absolutely not. And he's not an on the ball defender at all. Boston took him to the woodshed. But 32, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, they know you're not good at it. He also was laying them, with the step back three, he was laying them on their ass, so it's okay. And it's back and forth with that. With the new coach, one thing I love about him, 60% winning percentage in the playoffs. With Toronto. Toronto was not, and this was with Kawhi Leonard and without him. It was a tiny bit higher with Kawhi Leonard, of course, right?
Well,
it would be 62%.
Won the championship with Kawhi Leonard, yeah.
But if he loses 2% and you lose Kawhi, would you really think that was coaching? That's player. That's what I think. So I'm happy that he has he seems to be a decent playoff coach, and he's good with his bench. He's always been good with his bench. He got that kid, I can't even remember his name, the big that played with Toronto. He got him playing Joel Embiid like he was the next greatest center ever when they played him in the playoffs. Like, I think he can coach up young guys to come to the moment. And we weren't getting that with Doc. Doc was not coaching to the moment. You had the greatest story ever on the podcast when he called the timeout and then they threw the ball out of bounds. That was what I felt Doc's coaching career was here.
Yeah, when you said Harden was coaching on the floor, I'm reminded there was I forget what game it was or if it was playoffs or not. Harden takes the ball, and I think it was after a timeout, which is probably why I got irate about it. And Tobias Harris comes in and he like shoves him away, like, no, I want you to go somewhere else. And Doc, yeah, I don't know. He may be one of those guys who's just his championship was a result of circumstance, coaching three guys who really came together in Boston at the right time, rather than his own
who were really
coaching
good.
acumen.
Yes, who were really good at that time.
Yeah, so I guess with Nick Nurse, we got to give it a shot. I mean, I like his credentials. I liked him probably more than some of the other candidates that were thrown around. So I'm glad the Sixers got him. But my concern is that you've got Embiid, you got Maxey, Harris has a year left. I don't know how much he fetches you in a trade. I like Harris as a person, but I just he's never been kind of a third star. When you think of a team with three star players, I've never felt
he's not a star. Yeah, he's not a star. I feel to progress the team, you need to figure out a way to trade him. And if you're gonna keep Embiid, you're gonna keep Tucker, you're gonna keep Maxey, you're gonna keep Harden. If Harden stays, we don't know yet. I feel Harris needs to be the one to go, but do it for expiring contracts and picks. Get something back so you can build. because that's the one thing they don't have. They have no building power. And that's $39 million. That's $39 million you can give to James Harden, who he's well worth that. If you can get rid of Harris and get low-level guys, get 2 young kids that you might want to take a flyer on that maybe Nick Nurse can coach up to be. You have DeAnthony Melton, who, by the way, unsung hero last year. DeAnthony Melton was one of the best signings the Sixers have had in years. Dude was a great defender, scored well, came off the bench, played his part, sometimes saved Doc's ass with bad decision making. Sometimes DeAnthony Melton was out there, he scored 8 points and had 2 steals and 3 assists, and everybody's like, oh, that was a good move by Doc because he brought DeAnthony Melton out. Well, maybe it was just that, it was stale and you need to put a player out there. I like some of the team, like the Sixers team. I like Niang. Big Niang fan. He's hot and cold.
He's a free agent, though.
Yes, I would like to bring him back because he's very hot and cold, but when he's hot, and when he's cold, you sit him on a bench. He's not a world beater, but if not, get someone like him. I've always said that. That's the Bettinelli thing. That's the Korkmaz thing. The year Korkmaz was great at shooting threes. You just need a guy. I don't care if it's Niang, actually. Get a guy that does that, because I like that. That's fun. Like, we need that. That helps. That helps the team out. So building that, if you gotta trade Toby for that, I'm okay with that. Because he's not a real as a 3, I think he was good when he was the 4, because we didn't have a 4, but now we have Tucker. He's kind of not like, he's not the guy. I could start Melton at 3, right? For the same amount of money, and I could trade Toby for maybe 2 guys off the bench that might energy, maybe a big and a small that I could get some energy out of. That's what I'm hoping for. If Harden comes back, this all has to do with Harden, because we're literally screwed if Harden doesn't come back. In my
I was going to ask you if Harden doesn't come back. Let's say he decides he doesn't want to come back, but we can do a sign and trade with him.
Yes.
Does that helps? I presume.
Yes. Levine is
him
one.
Just walking.
Levine is one. Lillard is a dream. Lillard would probably be.
That's never gonna happen.
Would probably be better than Harden. So I'm not thinking they're gonna do that. Like, if that rumor is true, absolutely, I would trade Harden for Lillard and watch Embiid win a title, because he's really good. So you're looking at Levine or Harden. Are you going to go young, and you have to trade Tobias Harris along with all this? So yes, it could work, but you're very limited on the people. Maxey, Melton, Embiid is not the 3 that you need to win a title. Boston's going to run you over. You need one more guy. But Melton as your fourth. Melton as your 4th on your start with either Harden or Levine. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
Here's the thing. A lot of the Lillard and some of the other guys too, you hear Maxey's name get thrown in there.
No, you cannot.
To me, if he gets thrown in there, that destroys the whole idea.
You're doing the same thing. It's just like losing Harden. If you lose Maxey or Harden without replacing them with a similar talent, it's a step back.
Agree.
You need Maxey. It needs to be, in my plan, it needs to be Embiid at your 5, PJ Tucker, or someone like PJ Tucker at your 4. You need someone like Melton or Tobias Harris at your 3. You need Maxey, and you need either Harden, Levine, Lillard. You need a top guy at your 1. That's the only way this team is going to compete. If you lose one of them, literally lose one of them, and that's also, you have to replace the bet. If you trade Harris and you bring Melton to the starting 5, you need to replace Melton on the bench. So you need to do even more work, because having Melton come off the bench doing 25 minutes you're losing that, and we don't have anybody on that bench that would. Isaiah Joe's not going to fill that. Like, it's not happening. Like, it's just
Right.
They have a lot of work to do, and they can't lose the core that whether they're losing that certain player, they need to replace them with similar talent. We're at where the process has brought us to this point. We're at we don't have talent in the future. We can't tank again. We've gotten to this point.
We don't have enough picks to do that.
We don't have anything left. Like, this is right now. You have to. It's one trade and maybe one free agent signing that can maybe, I don't know. But I say just reset it and go is what I say. That's my thought. You can sign your players for whatever. Give Harden extra max money if you need them, just for an extra year, just to see if it doesn't work with Nick Nurse. Let's just blow it up next year. Let's take a shot with Nick Nurse.
I hear you. I lay this all at the feet of someone. I lay this all at the feet of someone whose initials are B and S.
Yes,
which stands for multiple things. So
yes.
there you have it. And as we move to topic 4, which is the Philadelphia Flyers, I'm actually going to turn it over to the Pat Falloon fan club, of which John Tracy is the sole member.
Love that.
As we're going to talk about the Flyers, because John has questions.
Yes.
And I can only hope that I have answers, because who knows?
He will. By the way, Pat Falloon is good. Me, Pat Falloon, and Pat Falloon's wife are great.
Oh, so there's 3 people in the Pat Falloon fan club. All right, good for him.
I would hope so. Pat Falloon was not in his own fan club. I would feel bad. He was not the best trade that the Flyers ever made. But we were just speaking before we came back on. When Owen Tippett is a trade.
Oh, that's a trade, all right.
That was valued. We lost our captain, and we will all die on that fucking sword. Claude Giroux can have a free drink in any bar. I'll pay for it. I have no problem. Just let me know you're there. I think he's one of the greatest Flyers of all time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But getting Owen Tippett back when he got traded, wow. That was a good trade from a shitty GM. That was a good trade. It was a good trade.
Absolutely. I love everything about that kid. Looking at his body type, you wouldn't think he was as an explosive a skater as he is, but he pulls. He will go 1-on-2 and he will split defenders and then pull away from them. It's amazing the amount of speed he has, and his release. He's got such a quick release. It reminds you of like Jeff Carter.
Nice.
It's off the stick, quick.
Nice.
He's got size. He's got power. You pair him with a legitimate playmaker who could have been Connor Bedard if the draft was quick.
or Claude Giroux if you didn't have to trade him for him.
Yeah. You pair him with a legitimate playmaker, he could score 40 goals. I mean,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
He had 20. He had close to 30, if not 30, this year, and he was not, he was not paired with world beaters for sure.
No, definitely.
So, Owen Tippett, absolutely, I give that trade an A.
So let's go to we've already talked about the Danny Briere taking over as the GM, and we've talked about Keith Jones being the president of hockey operations or whatever.
Well, since then, as you know, they brought on Patrick Sharp and John Leclerc. John Tracy. I was like, what?
Nice. I didn't
John Leclerc.
Well, Patrick Sharp has been making his name in hockey. Not many people might know him that well in the Philadelphia area. He was a Phantoms player that came up with Flyers, had a cup of coffee, but he's done more damage in front offices, TV. He's been in hockey probably deeper than most of the people. So bringing him back, when you and Matt told me about Patrick Sharp being called on, I was like, he's been doing a lot in hockey. That's somebody that I want because he probably knows every player, and that's the Keith Jones effect.
Yep.
If you're watching hockey, you know hockey. That's That's why I'm asking Steve questions, because I don't watch a lot of hockey, so I don't know a lot of hockey. Steve watches a lot of hockey. He knows a lot of hockey.
Patrick Sharp is a guy. He got run out of town by Ken Hitchcock, unfortunately. Abandoned too soon, and you want to talk about horrible trades?
And then got real good with the.
Then got real good and beat us in the Stanley Cup final in 2010. And won 2 other cups while he was at it.
Yes.
Yeah, good hockey mind. John LeClaire, one of my favorite Flyers of all time.
Yes. And great hockey mind.
Good hockey mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and great hockey mind.
So good to see those guys will be involved in player development. Hopefully they can really help some of our younger guys develop.
So now let's get to the shitty sports media of Philadelphia, who doesn't do a very good job because nobody knows hockey at all. And I will even throw shade. Jason Martinez is the only person I listen to, by the way, and sometimes Al Morganti. But everybody else,
Morganti, make sure you get that in there.
I love Al Morganti. Al Morganti brought us the morning show. He was the executive producer of that WIP morning show. He brought that slug of Angelo Cataldi to fame in Philadelphia, and everybody should know that it wasn't Angelo, it was Al. Al created that whole thing. He created the wing bowl. We should bow to Al Morganti. He's awesome. But on that note, I don't listen to much things you say about hockey because he doesn't talk much hockey. He used to use that for ESPN, and he would talk about other things. So, not to offend Jason Martinez, because I don't know much about hockey, but I love him. Let's get to the Philly sports media of that. Since Danny Briere has taken over at GM, I want to have a little conversation about this. How come everybody is just by name up for trade instead of saying that everybody's available? We've seen reports on Twitter over the last couple weeks, right? Specific players, Scott Walton, Carter Hart, are seriously in trade talks for these guys. Like, can we just say that Danny Briere's looking at everybody and trying to trade everybody?
When you listen to the actual quote from Danny Briere, that is what triggers all of these reports. He basically said, "We're open for business. I'm going to listen on anybody," which is, unless you're talking about Sidney Crosby, right? Or Connor McDavid, you're going to listen, because if somebody knocks your socks off with a trade offer, you're going to take it. Okay? Nobody should be untouchable for the right price. So, yes, Carter Hart could be available in a trade if you knock our socks off.
Yes.
Okay? If you're going to offer me Connor Bedard for Carter Hart, I might take that. But... what it is Danny Briere said, "Hey, we're open for business. If somebody wants to make an offer, we will listen." And everybody took that quote and then said, "All right, Carter Hart's on the block. Scott Lawton's on the block because Danny Briere said so." No, Danny Briere said we would listen.
Yes,
okay? That's all that means, and any reasonable GM will listen.
And very true, that happened with the Provorov trade.
Provorov, I think, was a bit different. I think the way the season ended, he may have been looking for a fresh start, and I think the team may have been also. I think Provorov is one of the ones who actually may have actively been on a block.
I don't
and to
think
hear Briere talk about it, it was in the works for a while.
I don't think he was a fit. Even coming up through the minors, he was never a fit for what they were doing before, and I don't think he's a fit for what they're doing now. He's a great player. He's as an individual, great player. I don't think he's a great team player. I don't think he's a great defenseman.
What's he doing playing D then?
Well, that's the crazy part about it. But he's got, if you're watching him and you know hockey, he's got some talent. Like, he can play a little bit.
Hey, absolutely. That's the disappointment of the trade, though, is when he was drafted. He's going to be a number 1 D man, and for the first couple years, he looked like he was trending that way. But part of the problem I've seen
his ceiling
this year
did not
particularly,
reach that.
No, it did not. It did not, and there could be various reasons for that. But one of the things I feel like I noticed this year more than maybe previous years was he just didn't look like he was having fun. It's sad because his first year here was the year we played the Penguins in the playoffs. We lost in 6 games. He had a separated shoulder, and he was like, we played with a separated shoulder and like took it on himself. He's like, I was disappointed in the way I played. He had a turnover, led to a goal, and he was like crushing himself because of that. And we're like, dude, you cut it out of game with your shoulder not in place.
You're good, bro.
It's all good. It's all good. If he could have stayed that player, but something somewhere along the line seemed to change in him. I mean, it reminded me a lot, and clearly a different reason. Mike Richards last year here, he looked like he didn't give a shit anymore, but we all know that was for a totally different reason.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if Provorov is on, the meds.
Or at least moving them across country lines.
Yeah, right. But it was sort of a similar thing. He just looked like he wasn't having fun, and I don't think you can play that way.
But you can play that way. But that's exactly why the Flyers made that big change, and I think it was good that they moved Provorov along because get some young talent. You're rebuilding. Mm-hmm. Do what we were talking about. We were talking about the Sixers. Kind of float it. Like you need to do that because we all know that the GM sucked. We all know Torts coming in. He had to correct a ton of stuff. They were not having fun, and he probably wasn't having fun with Torts because it was accountability. He was used to. Yeah. He was used to a shitty GM and a shitty coach. Right? Not saying beyond what. He's a shitty coach. I'll just say it. There wasn't a lot of responsibility, so he got to play more freely, more of a Russian style. You like to play freely, but when Torts comes in, you play more. You've got your half board and you've got your top of the circle, and if you're a defenseman and a guy's backing you up, you better stand him up right there. Like that's more Torts. Mm-hmm. And Provorov's more of a Russian player where you back up, and if you can't pick the puck or block the shot or intercept the pass and go the other way, you let him shoot. And I think that's what he was doing this year. More so, he was playing that. He was falling back while the coach was trying to step up and not let him in the zone or at least push him wide. And I think that was why that happened. Because Torts is a fucking machine.
I think I agree with you. The accountability probably grated on him. For sure.
Which I understand being that good. Sometimes as a sports figure, when you're that good, the coach isn't as important in a singular sport like hockey. And maybe even basketball, like talking about with Doc Rivers, with James Harden doing that. Your coach isn't that important. So if you're playing your style, maybe coming back to the bench getting your butt chewed off all the time made you not want to play. I understand.
Yeah. So it's disappointing just because of what he was billed as when he was drafted, not coming to fruition. But I think the return, for it was good. I think it puts us in good shape. It helps with the cap. We got a first round pick out of it. So I think it was a great first move for Danny, is for sure.
Absolutely. So Carter Hart, let's get to the crux. We had a goalie. We have a goalie. And me and Steve I think we've always said, I think you would agree with me, when you have a goalie, you have a chance.
For sure.
Always. I've always believed that. And we grew up through the Flyers franchise with some great, some not so great. Shout out to Brian Boucher. Twice you came from nowhere and showed us what a real goalie was. But having a goalie and trading for a goalie who seems to be someone that might fill a void if you trade somebody. What did the Provorov trade kind of make you feel on Carter Hart? Because you bring a guy in that, he's serviceable.
Look, Cal Peterson, he had a good year a few years ago.
Yeah.
With the Kings, which is probably why you know about him. Because
you
like the Kings for some reason.
Take a flyer on a guy like that. You take a flyer on a guy that had that good of a year.
Before we started, I just looked up his stats. His goals against and his save percentage have both dropped every single year of his career, and he was sub 900. He was like 860 or 875 save percentage, and his goals against was over 3 last season. Yeah. To me, he is.
By the way, you can only account in the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. You can only count for 0.5%. So Almagrani used to float this out like 3-4 is good in the West. That's not the way it is now. It's only 0.5. So if he's not 2.9 to 2.3 Eastern Conference, Western Conference, he's bullshit.
Yeah. So he, to me, because he's got a fairly large cap hit. I think he's around $5 million.
Yes.
But it's only for another year or two, so that's probably, helping LA with the cap, and a possible reclamation project as a goalie. But I don't see him, at least for the time being a number one in place of Carter Hart. I know there's a large contingent of people who are like, well, trade him now because you could get something. They're all believers in Sam Ersson, who played like 6 games last season. It's not a good enough sample size for me to say, yeah, this guy's ready to step in and be a number 1 NHL goalie.
You didn't play 84 games in 2 years, let alone 1 year.
Yeah, and then the guy in Russia, who knows if he's ever going to come back.
He's done his military service.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to keep him under lock and key.
We thought he was gone forever. So at least
that's true. At
least his name popped back up, which is good because he's pretty. We were sad when he left because he was supposed to be. Yeah.
He's supposed to be pretty good. He played outstanding, I think, for Team Russia last year in the World Championships.
And I absolutely, I know what's his name. Snyder would be turning in his grave having a Russian goaltender, but just me as a Flyers fan, but yet someone that likes to bump against the establishment, I would love to see them win a cup with a Russian goaltender because you remember so much.
Yeah, but Snyder was responsible for bringing in Briz, so you can't forget that.
Snyder late in his career he played the part in the 70s, but when he really had to get soup to nuts and really start to understand that the international game was better than the American game, Snyder was the first one in the NHL. I'll give him 100% credit for that. He was the first one in the NHL to fight against Bob Clark because Bob Clark was all Canada. Bob Clark wanted 6'4", 230-pound Canadian boys on his team. And Snyder was the one to be like, dude, you gotta go. Like, I can't do this anymore. I need, look at what they're doing over there.
Well, as a long-winded way to answer your question, the acquisition of Cal Peterson did not move the needle for me whatsoever as part of the Provorov trade.
Cool.
I know there's some logic to potentially moving Hart. Is this team, because if you say this team's legitimately going to contend in 3 years, Carter Hart will be older. Is he still going to be a goalie you could count on for that? He's going to be like 27 in 3 years. It's not like he's going to be 34, right? So I personally do not want to move on from him unless the return is spectacular. Because like you said, what we've been missing for all these years is a goalie. Now we've got one. Let's try and build around him with this team rather than, again, if the return is great, yeah, I'll listen to it. But I would not be actively looking to move him. I don't think Danny Briere is actively looking to move him.
I don't think so either. I don't think, no way. What about Lawton? Since he was another name that got thrown out.
Lawton, I would be more apt to listen on You know, because he's a good leader. He's the kind of guy you want on a championship team. But, you know, players like him you can find. It's harder to find a top-notch goalie. Lawton has been around for a while now. I don't know how old he is, but by the time this team's willing to contend, I'm guessing he's going to be in his 30s at that point.
I would assume, yeah.
So if you can get something for him, you know, so maybe not in the offseason, but at the trade deadline, if you could move him to a contending team for a good return, yeah, I would listen on that. I wouldn't have an issue there. Because yeah, like I said, he's a good leader.
He's 29 right now.
He's 29, so he'll be 32 in 3 years.
Yes.
I mean, he's a great penalty killer. And he's got some scoring hands, but he's not going to get you 25 a year. You know what I mean?
No.
He could fill a good role on a contending team. So if he's having a good season and somebody comes calling from a contending team, yeah, I would absolutely look into that seriously.
So my next question to your 3-year plan, because you've now, and I'm on board with your 3-year plan. By the way,
I would hope it takes less than, but it's going to take 3 years.
I'm really on board with your 3-year plan, and the next one I think about is Tony DeAngelo being would be his last year of his contract, right? Because he signed a 2-year deal.
Yes.
Yeah, so this would be the last year of his contract. Is that somebody that you would think about during, maybe not in the beginning of the season, because you got to put a team on the ice. You can't get rid of everybody and hope to field the team. This isn't this isn't Little Giants. Like, you're not just like, hey guys, come over here. We're gonna do together. Like, you know,
right.
Is that someone that you would throw at the trade deadline to hope that you would get maybe a piece or two back in your 3-year plan?
I certainly, I would think they're going to try to move him because he's an expiring deal,
and he's not a number one.
He's not a number one.
That was a farce by Fletcher to even try to explain him as a number one.
Right.
He's like my 3.
Tony DeAngelo would be good for a contending team as a power play guy.
Yes.
If you don't have to trot him out there 20 to 25 minutes a game, but you could put him as the point on your power play, he would be a good player for that.
17 minutes is where I cap him. Third defenseman.
Third defense pair, yeah.
Third defense pair.
Yes.
Top defense. He's not the worst on that pair, but he is definitely. He's not my 2. And he's not my 1.
No.
He's not even my 2D or my 1D of the guy that's there because he plays well with the other guy.
Right.
He's not a number 1.
No, agree. But I don't know how much you're going to get for him because that's sort of a power play specialist. How much is that really worth?
At the trade deadline on a playoff push? That's where I'm saying
you're not getting a number 1 pick.
No. You're definitely not getting a number 1 pick. But if you can wait till the very end, is what I'm saying. That's where I think they're gonna. Hey, this is a guy that can score. I'm not saying he can't score. Trust me, I'm not saying he can't score. He can score from all over the place.
But his limited role and an expiring deal, it's not going to be a whole lot. And you could get a draft pick for him. How high, I don't know.
I'll take anything I
would take something. Yes, agree.
He's not in the future.
No.
So, Couturier, we have just talking about basic. We have name some other people for me. We have Hayes, Couturier. We have
Hayes for now.
We have
he's another one who might be moved. Konechny. Yes. A lot of people want to move him. I understand that. I wouldn't. I just, I think he really blossomed well under.
He's a good player. He's a really good player. Yeah, he's a really good player. He's on a championship.
You need some of them.
Hey, what do you think of Hayes? Like, just real quick synopsis of Hayes.
He's a good puck possession guy because he'll come out of like places
Big.
with the puck where you're like, how the hell did he go? And he's big. But given the length of time before we're going to be able to contend, I just don't think. It's a shame because I think he's a really good guy, but I think they're probably going to have to move on from him.
Quick on Couturier.
I hope to God he's healthy.
And that's
Couturier
been a problem for the last couple of years.
Yes. Hopefully they finally fix the neck back issue, and he can come back and he probably won't be the same player he was, but 80% of Sean Couturier is better than 85% of this league. He's another player I really wish would come back and be healthy because he's a great player.
All right, let's go a couple more people. Owen Tippett, we're both big fans of Owen Tippett, so
Love Owen Tippett.
Yeah, I know. He's give him everything. He's fine. Other guys on the team that you think stay or go?
Okay.
Give me your
I thought you were going to give me names.
No, give me your top 3 stay or go that you feel like that need to go to help the rebuild, and then give me your top 3 that absolutely you want to stay.
That's tough because there's a lot of guys on the team I could be on the fence.
Well, just throw them out. I want your north south.
I would like to see Morgan Frost for another year to see if he can grow.
Good player.
He's got great hands. He's got to grow his overall game. I thought he took some steps towards the end of last season that he could become.
I think
a middle six
Tortorella
kind of
helps
guy.
him big time.
I think so too. TK, I would like to have him stay, just because I think he brings the scoring and he brings the feistiness.
It's so funny with him. You just look at him and watch him play. You could watch him play for 3 minutes or 3 hours, and the only thing that I could say about he's just got talent. Like he's just good at stuff. Maybe not the best at this or the best at that, but you knock him down in the corner and he's still fighting you for the puck.
Yep.
Like with one hand, and you're like wrenching on him, and he's still fighting you for that one puck. You're not getting away from him. I like him a lot.
I think if you want to give me one more, I guess
one
Noah
more
Cates.
of Keep. Okay.
Keep Noah Cates. I think he showed he was really good last year, and I think he could be a good bottom 6 on a contending team.
It's just that's
defensive,
huge. Yeah.
defensively, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are 3 guys who I'd like to see them keep.
And now who go? Like there's no reason, whether it's big time trade or it's we don't need you here.
I think D'Angelo's one we don't need.
100% agree with you. He can score from anywhere, but I have
score from anywhere. But again, the contending timeline and his skill set, it just doesn't mesh.
You're gonna give up 12. You're gonna give 12 goals to the 5 that you scored. I'm not. Right. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. I can't because Provorov's gone now.
Provorov was in when I was thinking about this weeks ago before the trade. Yeah. Provorov was one of the people that was like he had to go because it was I just need to get something.
Yeah, Hayes has to go. I think just again the timeline. It sucks that we have to do it, but
good player, not great though.
Yeah, no, I agree. He should not be a number 1 center. I mean, that's just
no, absolutely not.
Unfortunately, with the injuries, that's where he sort of slotted in, and Torts moved him to wing, and it just got all weird.
He's 3 on any team that he's on. If he's not the 3rd line center, it's just mismanaged.
If he's your 3rd line center, you're in good shape.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that.
Like he may be 2, like with an injury, and maybe with his play sometimes he's but definitely not a 1 or 2.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a 1 or 2 on this team. No. Growing it, and then there's one more.
I struggle to think of somebody who would be on that list that I say would absolutely have to go. Again, most of the other guys, it's like I'll listen if they stay. You know, I'm not gonna bat an eye. But
what do you think about Farabee? Not a go, but what do you think about him? Because if you don't have anybody else to go, let's kind of talk about.
All right, Farabee. You got to give him. He came off a serious neck surgery last year. You can't base anything that happened last season on your decision. I think he's got to get at least another year under Tortorella and see what he can do.
But his years prior, he could kind of give him that. He was.
Oh, I think he could be a 25 goal guy. Absolutely.
Which is huge in a rebuild. And we always talked about the Flyers being more injury ridden than anything. See if there's anything on the internet right now to pull up, just throw at you before we get out of here. Let's see here.
I'll be honest, I had forgotten about Joel Farabee actually when I was running names through my head.
I like him, but injury, absolutely.
Injury's not an excuse. Yeah, but
injury is an excuse. Dude, we've played. When you get hurt, you get hurt. You want to play.
Absolutely.
But you get hurt. And guess what? Yeah. Life goes on, and players should step up. I hope Farabee comes back and is in the top 6. Because I feel like he can be. But that injury is going to be worrisome.
Yeah, it's a neck. Although, I mean, it seems like Eichel has progressed. I think he had, if not the same similar
that's
issue. I don't know that Eichel's the same player he was before, but he certainly was good in the playoffs, and he looks like he's back.
Okay.
So hopefully Farabee can have a similar kind of result.
If you get those two in the 2 of the 6, you get rid of Hayes, and you got Owen Tippett, and you've got Couturier, hopefully healthy. That's the only thing we can say about Couturier. Couturier is a top line player in the NHL.
Absolutely.
Unless he's hurt. If he's hurt, he's not there. But he is absolutely our number 1 guy if he comes back.
Absolutely.
So let's go on to some fun stuff about hockey, because we're done with these Flyers. We don't fit. We've got 3 years. We'll talk your head off about them.
Yeah.
I got one thing, because I was just looking on the internet to see if there was anything else, but there's no news.
Right.
Let's talk about those Phantoms, because we talked about was it last week or the week before we were celebrating their championship in 2005.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's up on my wall right there.
Yes.
Patrick Sharp.
Patrick Sharp was on that team. And then they had a couple guys. Mike Richards was on that team, wasn't he?
Mike Richards and Jeff Carter both joined them for the playoff run from their junior teams, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Antero Niittymaki was on that team as a goalie.
Yes, he was. Love Antero.
And I think there were a couple other guys on that team as well. But yeah, that was a fun, good team.
Yeah, that was a good one. That logo.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. That logo. Isn't that logo probably the best junior franchise, minor league? That one competes. That's what I'm trying to say.
Good. I
liked it.
We were actually a few months ago, if you remember, we were looking at AHL jerseys.
Yes.
And there were some really good ones in there.
There are some good ones.
There are some good ones. So I'd have to put them all up in front of me to look, and maybe we could do that as a future topic.
We'll have to do that maybe as a tournament later on. But
maybe
just a reminder of that when I saw that. Like that was I was like, man, I miss those. I just miss those jerseys. They were so cool.
They were good jerseys.
They did very well in a Philadelphia market, which is hard to do, to put a minor league sport in the Philadelphia market. Yeah. They did a really good job.
Yes, they did. And the year they won the Calder Cup was the year the NHL was on a full year lockout. So that was the highest level of hockey in the country.
Yes.
So they basically won the big trophy that year.
They pretty much won the big trophy, yeah. I mean, the Calder Cup ain't nothing to shake a stick at.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
A nice trophy.
Absolutely not.
It's not the Stanley Cup.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a nice trophy.
Yeah.
I can
All right.
picture it in my head, by the way. The Calder Cup trophy.
The Calder Cup.
I can't know minor league sports ever. I can tell you anything, but the Calder Cup, I know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's very true. Well, that wraps up. Yeah, we are. That wraps up episode 142.
Yep.
Just want to conclude by you'll notice the Florida Panther jersey is no longer behind me. They lost in the Stanley Cup final to the Las Vegas Golden Cheaters. I'm sorry, the Golden.
I'll put my tinfoil hat on and tell you that it was a total cheat job. I was a fix.
Damn cap circumventors.
Yes.
And Mark Stone will now be, not sure of his status for the rest of his career, which means he'll show up every April when his cap hit comes off the books for the playoffs.
Yep.
But congratulations to the Panthers. You really made it far. It was a fun postseason run. I hope they all enjoyed it. It sucks the way it came to an end, but when your best player has a broken sternum and your best defenseman is playing with like a broken foot and a ruptured testicle and all kinds of weird crap, it's not always going to end well. We know that here in Philadelphia for sure. But,
and a big shout out to Jimmy Buckets. Hell of a job, dude. Like hell of a job. Big Jimmy Buckets fan. You took your team
you beat the Celtics. That's the most important thing for us here.
You took your team back, the 8th seed, and literally you worried the Nuggets. Good job. Big fan of Jimmy Buckets. So
yeah, good job.
So, and all now we got baseball.
Yeah. Now we got baseball with a pitch clock, so it'll be faster. So that wraps up episode 142. We will see you next week. Matt should be back from his vacation. We all look forward to seeing the pictures from Cooperstown with him taking a dump on some New York Yankees. But
hopefully he does not do that.
I would say hopefully he does do that.
Hopefully he does do that, but not take pictures.
That's true. Very fair. We'll have the after.
Yes.
So we'll go from there. But until then, we say see you later. God bless the Queen, man.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to us here at Two Noobs Talking. If you want more of Two Noobs on social media, we're here for you. You can find us by searching Two Noobs Talking on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Clapper. Have a great week, and we look forward to delivering another great episode to you next week. Take care.